So let's be honest with ourselves. How do you feel right now? How do you feel about this design course, this design exercise? Are you motivated? Do you feel comfortable about it? Yes?
Really.
Sorry, not really?
Not really.
Why?
So, at least a lot of uncertainty and a lot of everything, you know, the Latin silva rerum. So we face this, and it's a not really clear objective ahead of us.
Yeah, totally. Anybody else wants to jump in? How do you feel right now after 2 days of playing with the metas, listening to lectures and all that? Not too sure about it? Well, no worries. It's the same for everybody. So when I met Rado and he asked me, could you come and give a lecture? And the intent he gave me is that, and I think he's a very good observer, because he came to visit us in Canada last June when we were conducting our 9 days long design exercise. And usually around the 3rd or 4th day, students start to be a bit doubtful and demotivation a bit sets in. In the first 2 days, most students give it a chance. Let's see where it goes. And I was there during yesterday when you were presenting your journey, and most of you were hopeful of where it was going. But after the 3rd, 4th days, like, okay, can we get something with this? Where is it going, right? So Rado was really clever and told me, like, it would be great if you could present on the 3rd or 4th day to motivate the students. So this is what he asked me to do, the first picture you see there, to be your cheerleader. And I'll do the best I can. And I wanted to complicate a bit my life. So I'm not only going to try to do this, but I'm not going to do it myself. I'm going to let Canadian Forces College students do it for me. I'm going to let them do this job. And how am I going to do this? Well, during the 9 days exercise, we hired a research assistant, and her job was to circulate among 8 groups of a total of 80 students to capture the mood and how they felt about design thinking, the whole process, during 9 days. And she got a lot of feedback, and I'm just going to use this feedback to try to motivate you. And to make the job even more difficult for me, I'm going to use a very, very complicated theory to do that. Comes from a great philosopher called Hideo Kojima. Does anybody here know who is Hideo Kojima? Does anybody play video games here in this room? Come on, don't be shy. You play video games?
I prevent my children to play.
You prevent your children to play? I mean, it is a shame, because in Warsaw, you've got the #1 leading video game company in the world called CD Projekt Red, who did the Witcher series. And me and my brother are total fan. To the point that when I landed, I saw all of these big ads of the Netflix Witcher show, and I was the happiest person in the world. So play your Polish video games, because they are the best in the world. All right, to go back to the concept that I'm going to use, and it was developed by a video game developer. Whoa, that's not really academic. That's not really, I'm not using a concept from Clausewitz. What the hell? But as Ken Robinson told you just before, we should tear down the wall between academic knowledge and knowledge that you can find anywhere else, as long as it allows you to be creative and move on. So the concept I'm going to use is the concept of asynchronous multiplayer. So right now, if you look at the community of design practitioners, of instructors like myself, Ben, Rado, Robert, and Piotr, we connected, and we are connecting. We exchange knowledge, ideas, methods. How might we best run this course? But students together, you are not connected, and you're not connecting. You don't know about the Canadians who did this before. You don't know about the next ones who will come in and do the same course. What about we find a way to connect these students together? And that's my goal today during this presentation. Does anybody of you know what it is? Asynchronous multiplayer? So when you or your friends and all that play a game in multiplayer, you play a shooter, okay? You can beat somebody by killing them directly, simultaneously, or you can play with somebody that will help you, a co-op game. In an asynchronous multiplayer, asynchronous means not at the same time. So basically, you're alone in this world, and you really feel alone, but some previous player left things for you to help you out. And there's no real benefit for them in doing so. So for instance, they may have left signs to help you in your journey. So don't go there, it's dangerous. Or go there, there's something interesting, there's a tool. Or perhaps if you feel you need a tool like a ladder or something like that, well, some of them left the tool for you to use in this world that will help you in your journey. But you're not forced to do so. You could just go straight and try to explore by yourself without using all of these tools. And Hideo Kojima is a real innovator. He wasn't sure it would work when he launched the game. He was terrified, but he did it anyway, and that's one of his greatest surprises. It not only worked, but that's one of the thing that he liked the most about his creation. To the point that when I played the game, at first I was like, it's silly, I'm not going to do that. And now I just want to help others. If I come somewhere and I have an extra tool, I'm just going to leave it for free for somebody else to come. This might help them for their journey. So I'm gonna do the same with you guys. We collected all of this feedback from students, and so my rule is that I'm just going to use this feedback. There's none from myself as an instructor or researcher in what you have in terms of the drawing I gave you. And the second rule is that I'm only using the same signs that you can use in the game. So it's as if in your journey, you have Keynesian Forces College students who are letting you use some of their advice or tools for your continuing journey in this design course. And in the end of my presentation, I want us and you to do the same. Give some tips or tools to future students who are going to go into this for their first 2 days. And let's see how it goes. And I'll be entirely honest with you, I am taking a huge risk. I never did this before. This is the first time that I'm doing something like that. So this may fail, this may fall flat, but I'm just taking a chance. Since the beginning, we talked to you that you should take risk, and instructors tell you that. So I think that as instructors, if we really believe in what we say, we should take risk, right? We should not be afraid. So let's give it a try. And like Ken Robinson, I'll ask those who have a picture to draw it while I'm presenting the tool or the advice. Is it good with you? Great. Question? No? Anybody wants to begin? Please. Can you just come on the board and draw exactly the same thing? And I'm gonna talk as you are copying this.
Draw the pictures.
Yeah, you can only draw the picture. And usually, I'll be honest with you, professors, we like to be in control. And that's why we like lectures so much, because we control the whole flow. We can prepare this a year in advance, 3 years in advance. Is going to be always the same thing in a real linear fashion. Right now, I really don't know what's going to come first. So this presentation will be nonlinear. So this symbol, you see that the arrows are not going in straight line. They are going back and forth. So for most students, they felt very uncomfortable, as you put it, sir, of going back and forth. They are used to follow steps like in a planning process, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in design, you don't do that, because if you do that, you won't be creative. And most of the time, you are in what we call co-evolution. You will do something like your raft yesterday, which will give you insights that might lead you directly into solution, and perhaps then by trying to develop a solution, you'll get back and say, oh, I need something more, and you'll get back. So you will go from, instead of steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you might go from 5, 3, 2, 1, 5 again. So for most students, they really feel very uncomfortable because they don't have the feeling that they are progressing. But this feeling is a bit of an illusion, because you are always progressing in your knowledge about the environment, about the actors, and so on. And sometimes some teams stay into this kind of state of mind until the end and they panic. And then in the end, they have a bright insight that will change it all, that they will present to their sponsor or their general. So it's totally normal if you feel uncomfortable because we're not used to work that way. But designers, creators work that way in a very nonlinear fashion. So the tip is to try to become comfortable with being uncomfortable in this kind of nonlinear way of producing knowledge. So this sign that you just saw on your journey is don't give up. You may want to, and if you perhaps would have the choice, put this aside, go back into planning, or do something you're really comfortable with. And you might not want to try something, but don't give up. And failure in design is not only an option, but something you should do. And that's a way for you to create knowledge. Try something, see if it works, get feedback from your team, and move on. And if you think about it, if we are honest with ourselves, we fail every day. When is the last time you went on Google and you found what you were looking for after the first click? It rarely happens, right? So you fail. But by failing, you learn and you try it again, and then you got to what you were closer to what you were looking for. So this is the symbol. Don't give up. It's okay to fail, and by failing and failing again, you will find your own way. All right. Slow down. So you might feel that this is not going fast enough. You know, you would, if you would do planning, you would feel that you're progressing and that you're going. And perhaps you feel that if you would use another tool, it would go much faster. But actually, I'm almost done. Actually, with design, if you do a good job, you can be even more efficient if you look at the long term. Because if you really think carefully about what you're doing, you will not only make less mistakes, but what you will create might become the next standard. So that instead of having to catching up to others, well, others will have to do the extra works to adapt to what you just create. So if you think about in the industry of new weapons or whatever, it's always the same thing. Just think about the radar during the Second World War. If you create something like that, well, everybody else will have to catch up. It takes a lot, perhaps more time to create it, but once you've done it, you really save a lot of time. So no worries, slow down and take your time. And again, usually the more you keep exploring, the better it is. All right, so this one is build a safe house. If you want to practice design thinking with your unit or your team where you are going to work, it doesn't go like that. You can always do it yourself, but if you want to bring more, it's better. And you got to build the conditions for this to happen. So for instance, you can be honest with your team and try to see what is the ambition of your team. Are you a team that really wants to disrupt and really bring something new? Or are you more a team that would feel more comfortable with incremental innovation, going more slow in that way? Are you comfortable enough to volunteer flaws or to share controversial ideas? There are many ways, as you know, in leadership where you can set the conditions for that to happen. If you don't work on your team and set the conditions for that, or if you don't establish a sort of contract with your team, well, it will be very difficult for people to feel at ease in sharing ideas that may be crazy or out of the blue. It's going to be very difficult for you to do design or really innovate. It will be probably more likely more of the same. So the work you do as a leader for design is crucial. Next symbol, it's the, clearly the happy face and the other face that doesn't really look happy, right? And this one, it's a bit more from myself. Innovating is really painful, okay? And why is it painful personally? You read the article, Drop Your Tools, right? Yeah? It's painful because when you innovate, you challenge who you are as a person. If you really innovate, there's a part of you that you'll have to let go. And that's really painful. And Ben, when he came 2 years ago, we were doing an exercise in West Africa, and his students developed, I would say, the most innovative design concept. And they hated it. They felt so bad about it because it was so far away from who they were before. So innovation is not just partying and playing with Post-it and all that. Innovation is learning to let go of what you love the most. So are there any fighter pilots in the room?
There is one.
One?
Yeah. Sunju.
Sunju, you're a fighter pilot?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Why? Well, perhaps not you, but the fighter pilots will have to let go. Because in perhaps 10 years from now, there will no longer be any fighter pilots. But if you are there and say, no, when you will become a general, we need to continue training fighter pilots, you will fail because the environment is not moving that way. But you would innovate if you will be the first nation to say we no longer train fighter pilots. And it would feel really bad because how many hours did you put in learning how to fly? It's crazy. So innovating most of the time is against who you are, and that's why it's so difficult. But smiley face is liberating because it opens a lot of possibilities that you did not consider before. If you say we are no longer training fighter pilots, oh, well, there are many other things we can do that we did not think about. We may focus more on the drones, we may perhaps even just have another way of defending our airspace that we did not even consider. So, these are all the signs, the tools, the tips that Canadian Armed Forces are leaving you for your own journey here, for your own paths. So you're free to use some of them, to remind some of them until the end of this course, or not at all. You are doing your own path, your own journey. But I thought that this was a bit motivating you because you're not alone. Others did this journey before. Others suffered, others felt uncomfortable, but most saw the benefits of doing design thinking in the end. So hold on. And now, let's connect. It's your turn to draw a signs for forthcoming students who will come here, and for Canadian students, I will take them with me and do a selection. So what are the tips or the tools you recommend to students who begin their first 2 days of design thinking in a military context?